What is up, everybody? Episode 180. Nick is running late tonight. This is the fourth week without him, and we're crossing our fingers he shows up tonight. He's been busy with his travel down to Olympus. This episode is presented by, you never guess it, guys, Disc Golf 978. They're on screen up there. Their logo's hard to miss, the big 978 yellow numbers. If you haven't checked them out, and you've heard us talk about them now for how many episodes? 6, 7? A lot of episodes now. We're going to keep doing it. Don't tune out on this. We got special things to tell you about, including their free shipping on anything over $25. So you might as well hit them up because they've got rock bottom prices. Tell your TDs about these. If you are a TD, it's so easy to use this as your payout. I mean, extremely easy. You just take your PDGA report at the end and send it over to 978, and boom, all your players get email notifications of their accounts and their dollars, and they get to buy what they want with their earnings, which that's normal. But the player packs, to me, that is a major win as well. I can play a tournament and buy what I want, and if the tournament player pack gives me $25, buy whatever I want on the website, ship it to me, instead of someone choosing for me what I get. Besides all of that, we love 978. They do custom apparel. Hit them up there. The knowledgeable staff. You've seen Casey White promote them. I think you've even seen Simon and Marky Chap and a whole bunch of others, including us here at Staggered Stance, Disc Golf 978. I've got a lot going on here, guys, because Ben, if you're realizing it live on screen, Ben is not in studio. So guess who is running the production? I am. Now, I will be actually taking a step back tonight almost fully. I tested for strep today, and that is miserable. If you've ever had it or you haven't, I'll just say one thing. It's like swallowing glass. That's just not a good day. I can talk, but only for so long before I have to swallow, and I don't feel like doing that to everybody on screen. Or coughing is bad. So we're going to run the show like this. I'll be back here. I might have chime in here and there. Nick should be planning, or he is planning to join the show. I think he's literally walking Olympus right now, looking to make sure everybody's safe and sound off the course. We have Eveliina Salonen interview lined up. Again, I will not be leading the show today, but we're also excited about Pop Drop Lock. Very excited. We're going to tighten that segment up. I think you'll all love it. We think you're excited about it. We have just about 300 people this week who signed up to play. That's a good response for the first event. I think so. So Ben's here, Josh is here, Evan's here. How are you guys doing? I'm literally going to step back. You guys take the show down, or don't take it down. I can still push the buttons. You guys take it over, and then Evan eventually here will give his recap. So there you go.
Yeah, we won't take it down, but you got to keep us up, right? If
Nick.
that doesn't work. Hey, there we go. Bringing it home. Yeah, so we do plan on Nick joining us, as Matt said. So I think even though there was no event this past weekend, I'm sure we'll want to hear from Nick firsthand somewhat of how the chess.com Invitational went. I've seen him have various interviews on social media outlets, but it's time he brings it home to his show here, right? And give us some of the insight. And as Matt mentioned, talking to Eveliina. I'm sure we've got plenty of other stuff. But Evan, Ben, anything else going on? Having a good week?
I gotta step in and correct you real quick. I mean, there's no events on the Disc Golf Pro Tour.
That's true.
Or at the major level. There's a lot of really cool events, and I'll get into my full recap later. But Anthony Barella shooting 1100 rated round has been one of the biggest talks, of course, at Fountain Hills. Lots of thoughts there about Fountain Hills and ratings, but at the end of the day, very cool what happened. And there were a lot of other events that were really interesting that I was excited about. Hopefully others are too. But one of those events, Ben Kenny played in. Was that your first event of 2024, Ben? And tell us about it.
Oh,
real quick. I don't want to hold my whole recap, but just you played.
I wasn't expecting you go to me for that. But yeah, quick 36 in Northwinds, New Hampshire. It was my first round tournament of the year as a Hooligan sponsor player. So shout out Hooligan. And yeah, I just played my average. I could have done better, but I felt good out there. And my putt felt a lot better, but I did miss a 5-footer. It rolled away, and I missed the comebacker. Got a lot to work on.
Yeah, you do. I've seen that before, so not surprising. Ben, you also met my dog, who took a
Yes.
very long time to warm up to you, but eventually
Yes.
she loved you and missed you
Maple.
when you left. So, I had a great weekend. One thing I want to shout out is now getting into maple sap tapping or maple tree tapping, getting sap, turning into maple syrup. Still in the process. It is hard. It's a lot of work. I was boiling maple
I say
sap
you're
for
doing it. You're doing it yourself at home.
Yeah, tap some
All right.
sugar maple trees in our yard. Got it flowing, got it into buckets, and then boiling it, and it was going for 7 hours on Saturday and did not finish. So I need to be you got to be more efficient with it and have like a flatter pan so it's more surface area that's heated up to boil it faster, longer. I don't know. I'm not
Learn about maple syrup on this show. But I would say, Evan, everybody knows maple syrup, but people not from New England may or may not know the amount of effort and the amount, like, what is it? How many gallons turn into like how many ounces of maple syrup, right? It's a pretty absurd ratio.
It's somewhere between 1/30th to 1/60th of the total sap water you get. It's essentially water. Yeah. It's just, sugary water. To turn that down into like the sticky, gooey maple syrup that you put on your pancakes, it's a lot less. And you're just kind of boiling out, you're evaporating all the water away to just get the sugars.
It's liquid gold, but it's a lot of effort.
Pretty cool process, but a lot of work. Josh, did you do anything fun or notable on the weekend before I bring it into the recap?
Nothing. I mean, like fun or notable, normal family stuff, which is always fun and notable, but nothing unique to probably express here. But I think you're right. Like as far as events go, people scheduling events found this nice little slot between the first event of the year and the next event. And you're right. When I said there were no events, there's actually a lot, and a lot of them are interesting or intriguing. So why don't you run us through those?
Cool. Well, I'll start in the excuse me. I don't have strep throat, but had to swallow there.
You're feeling it through the mic.
into the Gulf States, to the 31st annual City of Mobile Championships, an 8-tier down there. Matt Oram wins in his home city of Mobile. He chased down Ezra Robinson to force a playoff, and then I won in what I believe was a 5-hole playoff, which quite a few holes to force out a winner. Ezra Robinson was sitting comfortably before Oram did chase him down in the final round. Holly Finley wins in the FPO side by 37 strokes. She had that one clear for a while. Over in Texas, which is where the tour is headed, but there's a few events played in Texas on this off week for the Disc Golf Pro Tour. There was the 22nd annual Crush on the Concho, which was a A-tier. Don't know much about the name, but I saw a bunch of people saying, crush on the concho while I'm on my couch. I don't know. There's jokes to be made about that. But Bradley Williams wins an MPO, and he is no new time winner in Texas. He's actually the winningest pro of all time in the state of Texas, this being his 113th pro win in the state of Texas. Meanwhile, on the FPO side, we had a new A-tier winner. Emily Weatherman wins her first A-tier of her career by 12 strokes over Lucky Lorenzen, which is incredible thinking about Lucky Lorenzen, who's a very good tour level player. To beat her by 12 strokes over 3 rounds. Emily Weatherman shot 54 points above her rating to get that win. Another event in Texas, although a B tier, the field was much better than your average B tier. Vaino Makala wins an MPO, which makes that his first career win in the United States. I mean, it's kind of not surprising when you think about it, but at the same time, it's like, wow, he's never won in the USA before, but he's been playing here for so long. But usually he's playing on tour, and so those wins are hard to come by. Gets the win here. It's his first win in almost 3 years from any PDGA events. The last one he won was the Finnish Nationals back in 2021. In FPO, we had Kat Mersch win it by just a single stroke over Rebecca Cox, with Maria Oliva close behind. There's just 5 players in that field, but 3 very, very good tour level players. In MPO, just to name a few of the other players that Vaino Makala beat, you had Nicholas Antila, Gavin Rathbun, Jesse Niemanen, Chandler Fry, Connor O'Reilly, Luke Sampson, Emerson Keith, James Conrad, Nate Perkins. Like I could go on, and I would still be naming players that you know of as we get, well into the leaderboard. So really cool to see an event at just a B tier get such high attendance. But then let's go over to the Memorial Championship. That's probably the event that people will know the best from this weekend. That is a long time notable event that's been on tour as a national tour event, as a Disc Golf Pro Tour event, but now just an A tier, although a very good A tier at that. Anthony Barella is the notable news because he shot 11-13 rated round in round 2 over at Fountain Hills. That isn't an unofficial rated round. It will need to wait until ratings day to officially process and get its final rating. That is currently, though, tied for the 5th best round rating of all time. His 17 down, which was this highly rated round, was a 39 overall. That matches the exact same score that Paul McBeth had on that course, which was the 11-32 rated round, the highest round rating of all time back in 2013. Although, of course, for ratings, it depends on all different variables and what's going on, the players and how the other players play and the weather conditions and so many different variables. So you can have the same score, but different ratings. That's what happened here. Anthony Barella parred the first hole and then went birdie, 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 birdie all the way until hole 18, birdieing 17 in a row, which is kind of wild. You get that par on hole 1, and then you're just smooth sailing for the rest of the round and birdieing every hole in existence. Interesting note, Anthony Barella did not win this event. I'm going on about him for a while. And Paul McBeth also did not win the event back in 2013. I find that interesting. The highest round rating of all time didn't win the event, and neither did this one for Anthony Barella. We had Gannon Burr win, which Aaron Gossage was in the driver's seat going into the final round with, I believe, a 3-stroke lead over Gannon Burr. Yes, that's correct. And then Gannon Burr gained 5 strokes on him to win by 2 strokes, win outright. That makes Gannon Burr the back-to-back winner at the Memorial. He's only played the event twice and has won both times. And then speaking of back-to-back winners, we have Owen Scoggins, who's won now 3 out of the last 4 years at the Memorial. She beats Jennifer Allen, who, although has the most pro wins in FPO in the state of Arizona, does not have a win at the Memorial. So she is, of course, looking for that win. She was leading early in this event, but wasn't able to close it down. So that's what I got for events this week. Any thoughts on that? Lots of thoughts there, but I'm sure we'll go to Fountain Hills. So if any thoughts other than the Memorial and Fountain Hills first.
Well, other than Memorial, that's the one that I had my eyes set on. I recognize some of those other names. I think in other years when the swing or the tour started out west, we saw a lot of people roll down to some of those Texas tournaments you mentioned. So definitely recognize those and congrats to the winners. But yeah, I mean, Memorial is obviously the premier, at least name recognition, because it's so long standing. A lot of historical, events have happened there. Even with the Pro Tour and preceding the Pro Tour on the National Tour and whatnot. So yeah, you probably see a pretty significant list of who's who names we'd recognize be winners of that event. And so even though it's off the tour, adding Gannon Burr to the list and Owen Scoggins, well, not adding, they were already on the list, right? Doubling down or tripling down in some cases. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not incredibly surprised. The discussion always is why is it not on the tour anymore? And do these high ratings and course length and difficulty, is that part of the equation? It doesn't mean it's any less fun to watch. Well, to watch the scores. I actually don't know if it's as fun to purely watch the throws. But
I think it's probably still pretty fun. Actually, Ricky
is.
Wysocki was a spectator for the weekend, and he was posting about it, having a grand old time. Of course, it's Ricky who kind of has fun with anything.
Yeah.
And
to be clear, I think no matter what, sorry, Evan, but to watch somebody throw 17 birdies in a row would just that's awesome no matter what. So I'm not downplaying it.
Yeah. Okay. I agree. That's what I think is especially nice. Ooh, look, Nick is in the house. What I want to say is Fountain Hills is incredibly beautiful. And although there's the downsides, which is, hundreds, if not maybe thousands, maybe not thousands, but hundreds of people walking their dogs, going on a nice Arizona afternoon walk in February or March. And it's kind of hard to play because there's so many people just enjoying other things than disc golf. the course itself is pretty beautiful and spectacular. You have nice green grass. You have the big kind of pond reservoir in the center with the big fountain, of course. So I think it's not a bad place to watch or play disc golf. Just unfortunately might have outlived its days on the tour level, but still can live on in its current state.
What
Totally
do you think,
agree.
Ben? Yeah, Nick. I mean, like, wait, what? So Macbeth threw an 11:32, I think you said, Evan, right? Is the number. And then what did AB just throw?
11:13.
11:13.
Yeah, and I didn't even mention in my recap, I mean, not to downplay Anthony Barela, he just won chess.com and then throws an 1100 rated round, but he did follow up the 1113 rated round with, I believe it was a 1013 and a 1012 rated round, which makes him the first player in history to shoot an 1100 rated round and then immediately followed up with back-to-back rounds rated 100 points worse than it.
That's a good stat.
It's not
Thanks,
a good.
Ben.
I mean, it's an awesome stat. It's not
it's
a good
interesting.
one.
I have a good stat from me, Stat Bando. Vino Makala, that was his first win in 3 years and first in the USA with the Cancer Playbook Open. There you go, Stat Bando.
Thanks for recapping me 5 minutes ago. But Nick, how's it going? How is Olympus doing post chess.com invitational?
Post chess.com invitational is I think I could kind of equate it to when Ben runs his expo, to where that feeling the day after where everything is just done and you're kind of like, what do I do right now? You're on such a rush. I mean, we had 2 weeks straight of large events there, players practicing every single day, spectators, people hanging out, vendors coming in. So a lot going on in the span of 2 weeks. And then the day after the event was the first 18 holes that I've ever been able to play at Olympus, which was pretty sweet. We got to do a Paul Macbeth Foundation flex start. But realistically, now we're in throw down the mountain mode. Large A tier that Barnett's been running at the Olympus. Used to be throw down the mountain course for the last 10 or 11 years or so. So 4 straight weekends of age protected divisions and then MPO and FPO on the final weekend. So we're kind of just getting ready for that. And then, but it's nice because Barnett's running those tournaments. So I'll get my first weekends off since moving down here, except for when I went up to the expo. So I got a couple nice 3-day weekends coming up.
Yeah. And you mentioned the fundraiser tournament. You didn't mention who won that at MPO. It was yours truly, Nick Carl was it 9 down?
9 down,
beating the early score setter of Dion Arland, who was the second card out and finished with an 8 down, which held all the way until one of the last cards, which was you.
Yep. The last hole.
Last hole, you eagled it, which of course is playing the FPO layout. So it's the same hole as MPO, but a different par. So eagling it for FPO, but birdieing it for MPO. That's absolutely incredible. I played that round with Dion. I was on that card. I finished 6th in I was about to say MPO. Oof. No, MA2, different division.
Yeah.
So I was pretty stoked with that. Shot a 900 plus rated round and was great for myself. But Nick, playing that course, that it's no joke. To shoot a 9 down, I'm like, whoa! Like watching Dion throw his amazing shots, even with the, maybe a few wet tee pads early in the morning.
Yeah, definitely
incredible.
You guys got the early morning dew, and just usually every night in Florida at some point it rains a little bit. So you guys got the early morning tee pads, and I was fortunate to tee off around 2:10 or so. So after a beautiful day of sunlight, cleared up all the tee pads very nicely. I didn't have any issues with them, and but no, it was fun. It was my first round back in like 2 months, realistically. I was playing with good buddies of mine who I've been hanging out with pretty much the last 3 weeks straight. And so it was finally nice. And that layout, I knew when we were kind of building it and designing it and getting everything ready, I knew for me personally, that would be a super enjoyable layout to play. The MPO layout, the pretty much turf to blue, is a dog of a layout. I mean, even par was in the 1020s. So just shooting even par is obviously a great round out there. No, it was fun. I really enjoyed it. It's not a lot of like power shots. I got to finesse a lot of fairway drivers and finesse my onyxes, which felt really good. I'm more of a finesse player than I am a power player. And somehow, some way, I was actually hitting putts, and I haven't taken a practice putt in months. So it felt good to kind of feel back at home. But yeah, I don't know when I'll play disc golf again at this point. I'm kind of looking forward to my next round of golf. I'm looking to play 18 holes.
Well, I want to talk more about the course later because I have lots of thoughts and had a blast playing it. But we have someone more important in the green room who has won at the event. Matt, bring us into it.
Absolutely. We're excited to welcome to the show here for the first time, Eveliina Salonen. We are excited to have you on the show. Eveliina, how is it going? You're in Texas now? Oh, hold on. I got you muted. There you go. She said yes, everybody. She's in Texas.
Can you hear now?
Yes. It is great to see you. I only see you in person maybe once or twice on tour. I think I filmed you at the Las Vegas Challenge a few years ago, and I was very impressed in person. I was at Catch Cam, and you definitely threw over my head. It is great to have you on the show with a big win, the chess.com Invitational. We definitely want to know more about it, and I know our fans and our listeners are very excited as well, so thank you for taking the time for that. I'm going to actually hand it over to Josh, and you can take this interview away.
Great. Hi, Eveliina. We have not met. Thank you so much for joining us. I know we've got a lot of listeners who want to hear more and are excited. Actually, disc golf fans have been talking about you for quite many years at this point from some of your tour wins in the past. We obviously had the great disruption with COVID and then seeing you come back. So this year, you came over prior to the All-Star break. Looks like you had a fun, wet weekend, but then you go out and win. Congratulations, the chess.com Invitational. And it looks like you've been enjoying some Florida tourism and now in Texas. So just tell us, how has the beginning of this year felt for you? It seems to be pretty awesome. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling really good, and it has been, I think, perfect start for the season. Florida was really nice. I really enjoyed it out there, and I was playing well, and everything worked. So I'm happy.
Yeah, everything certainly worked when you win and you get to go out and have a lot of fun with friends before and after. So many of us know that you have the skill sets to win. We've seen that really for many years at this point. But then in the post-round interview at Olympus course, you said you were surprised about how strong your mental game felt. Right, especially going into that final round. I'm sure that felt good. But can you tell us, what about your mental game was different maybe than some of the events last year where maybe it didn't feel as good? Was anything different for you that led to that?
I don't know what clicked, but something just happened, and I was believing in myself and thinking all the time that I can hit those putts and do those shots, and I knew that I can win. So it was big difference, and usually I was overthinking and worrying about the future.
So did you do anything on purpose to change your mindset, or did it just feel natural and you kind of just transitioned? Or were there any techniques or things that you were thinking to try to do it differently?
I didn't do anything, so that's why I was surprised. But I think always when I have had bigger breaks and I haven't played that much tournaments, first tournament, it's much easier. I don't know why.
Okay, well, maybe that's the right way to do it, is don't do anything and just relax and have a good time. And, maybe it will play out. In that same interview, you also talked about at times when you were facing more challenges and maybe the mental game was not as strong, you actually said there were times where you weren't sure that you believed in yourself. And I don't know if you can tell us, was that during the 2023 season last year? Is that when you're thinking about that was more the tough stretch for you when you weren't quite sure about your abilities?
Yeah, I think last 2 years, when I have been battling all the time, and it was so hard because I knew that I can win and I can really putt, but during tournaments, you all know what happened. But it was hard, and those were times that I didn't believe myself at all anymore.
Yeah, so you mentioned the last 2 years, of course, prior to that, and then we had the big break from the tour here in the U.S. Before that, you had also won some events. And so it's going to be interesting, of course, for you to see heading into the event this weekend, keep that moving. You mentioned something about other people believing in you when you weren't always sure of believing in yourself. who was that? Is this family? Is it friends? Is it fans? What's your support system that really helps you during those low times?
Family and friends, but of course I have got great messages from fans, but I think biggest is my family and friends.
Great. That's awesome. So because you travel here all the way from Finland, probably a couple times a year, do you feel like there's any additional pressure for you to represent a country? Many people travel around the United States and may think about where they're from, but for you and other competitors who are coming here from Europe for some of these big events, do you feel like that's an extra responsibility, or does that not even cross your mind?
Yeah, of course, because we don't have many Finnish players here, and like in Finland, most of the people are following our tournaments, and of course, I want to make them also proud and represent Finland. So yeah, but I don't want to take any pressure of that. I think it's more like, I don't know how to say it, but yeah.
It's
You're
more
proud.
maybe like, it's an exciting or a positive feeling for you to represent Finland, which is awesome. Obviously, more tour events are continuing to grow this year over in Europe as well, and so I expect that we'll see more competition continue really around the world, but certainly the United States and Europe. That'll be exciting. Does the additional travel being a much more significant factor for you, does that make it more challenging at all? Anything from time zone changes to just not being home at all? Is it harder for you to do this significant travel, or are you used to that?
I think now I'm getting used to it, but first it was so tough. And like when I'm doing these 3-month trips, it's a long time to be away from home, and I can't see my family and friends. So it's tough, but I think I'm getting used to it. But first couple years on tour was difficult because we were too young to rent a car. So that's why we had so many problems. But now we can rent a car, so life is much easier here.
And are you primarily traveling with Henna? Is that who you're traveling with?
Yeah.
Renting a car? Okay, great. All right, so now that you've won the first official tour event of the year, and you talked about how your mental game just clicked, and you know that you have the ability to play well, does winning that event change your expectations or outlook for the rest of the year? Like heading into Waco and beyond, are you expecting that same kind of performance?
Kind of, yes, because now I know that I can really win. And I think now when I get that first one done, it's much easier on next tournaments. And yeah, I have always big expectations for myself.
Right.
I'm sorry to jump in. Do you feel like, Eveliina, this win that you just got is enough to kind of just change the direction that you were heading last year? Like this one, you think like your mental game is snapped and you're going to be good now?
I hope so, but I don't want to say it because if I fail now, then it's bad. But I hope so.
I'm jumping ahead a little bit here. We play a game where we pick players to do well. You are my pick this week. No pressure, but I actually think you will. No pressure. You'll do fine.
Thank you.
Yes, that's great. So, Eveliina, I may have a couple other very simple, fun questions in a minute, but I'm going to actually ask Evan, who's with PDGA and Statmando. I think he has some additional questions for you as well.
Yeah, well, hey, Eveliina, congrats on the win. I was down in Florida for it, and so it was incredible to see how happy all the other players were for you when you were coming in to tap in your last putt. I was scorekeeping for the chase card in the second round, and so Henna was on that card. And I noticed that during a few backups, when the lead card, which was your card, caught up with our card, the chase card, you and Henna would just go see each other for a second and maybe giggle or talk about things. But overall, I'm curious. You're traveling in the U.S. for much of the season now, a foreign land. Where it's your second or even third language. How important is it to have someone who's from your home country, who's a friend that you can count on, just to have a sense of home while you're traveling?
Yeah, it's a big thing to have someone here, and I can speak Finnish, And we have been knowing each other maybe, I think, over 10 years. So traveling is so easy with her, and we know each other so well. And like, we are best friends, so it's great to have her here.
Yeah, awesome. Diving into the course, that was the first time we saw the Olympus disc golf course in its new name at this level in disc golf. And when I look at the leaderboard in FPO, I see lots of really good throwers, long distance throwers, yourself included. What do you think about this course suited your game well?
Yeah, I love that course. I think it was perfect to my game, but yeah, it reminds me more about European courses, what we are used to play. So I really like it.
Is there anything specific that reminds you of the European courses? Is it like the low ceilings? Is it, maybe the kind of more tunnel, you don't have a lot of left or right airspace to throw it? Is it the elevation? Is there anything in specific that made it remind you of the European courses?
I don't know, it's hard to tell, but sometimes it feels some tournaments can be only putting competition, but on that course you really have to know how to throw discs. Like, if you have distance, it doesn't matter if you can't hit your line, so you really have to have everything.
Well, that's great insight. I appreciate that. Looking at next year, the PDGA Pro Worlds is headed over to Finland to Nokia and Tampere. How excited are you to see Worlds heading to your home country? And what do you think that means for Finland as a whole, as a country, and for its disc golf?
Yeah, I think people in US really don't understand how big thing it's going to be to like Finnish people, but also European people. But for me, it's just a dream that those both two courses are like my home courses, and playing worlds, and I can like stay on my own home. So it sounds crazy, and I can get my family and friends there. So can't wait for that.
Nice. Well, I'm excited too. I love Tampere disc golf course, and I know they've had an event there, and it just got announced. We'll talk about it later, but the European Open will include that course as well, which will give us a little preview of 2025 Worlds. Last question I have is, you were doing some destination stuff, as Josh mentioned. I saw you guys were at Universal going to Harry Potter World and lots of other things. From the entire U.S., you've been traveling the U.S. for a few years now. What is your favorite destination across all the U.S. that you enjoyed visiting to the most?
I think before this season it was Arizona, but now I have to say Florida.
Was it just the theme parks, or just Florida as a whole?
I think all of Florida.
Nice. All right. Well, I'll swing it back to Josh.
Yeah, just a couple simple things. So again, thank you. First of all, Eveliina, I'm not sure how you feel, but I just compliment you on your English is very good in this interview. It's been very easy.
Incredible. So it is actually incredible. I don't even know two languages.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're nervous about that or not, but you've done very well.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
No nerves. To get rid of them. Yeah, you're doing perfect, honestly.
This is great. You speak better than some of us on our own show. So,
thank you.
And then also, just like compliments, watching you last weekend and even during this interview, and this is true for any player, we kind of see sometimes the stress, but in that last hole, obviously you chose to lay up the putt for the win, but then seeing you kind of crack a smile. Can you just explain in that moment the relief you had, and obviously the decision to lay up, which probably was a perfectly good decision?
Yeah, I have heard a lot of comments from that, but for me, I was looking all the time only total scores. I didn't know what my run score was, and I didn't think about like this is for the eagle or something. I just wanted like stress-free tap in and win. So I wasn't thinking about scores anymore when I knew that I'm going to win that tournament.
Can I jump in? Do you think that you had 100% putting during that round?
No, I didn't know that.
So let's get it clear, because Evan says it's subjective, right? To figure this out, Evan says it's subjective, meaning if somebody's watching, they say, I think she laid up. I don't know if she did for stat tracking. Would you say, yes, I laid up on purpose?
Yes, I laid up.
So there you go, Evan. Let's put it down in the history book. She laid up on purpose. I think she had 100% putting. That's my take on it. Evan, you want to debate that?
I was just going to say, for the putting stat, it's still considered a putt. I do fully agree that it was 100% an intentional layup. But hey, what I said last time is, you know what winners do? They lay up.
That's true.
She won. She got the win laying up. The stats don't mean as much as the win.
That's true. All right, back to Josh.
You earned the opportunity to do that, and it was great seeing you smile and seeing the relief on that course. You have many fans who are rooting for you. Thousands of people watching now on the Disc Golf Network, both here in the U.S. and back home in Finland. So you won the chess.com Invitational and you were awarded a chessboard. So Eveliina, do you play chess? Is that a game you have played or interested in playing?
I have to say that I have never played and I have no idea what are the rules and how that game works. So I guess I have to learn.
Yeah, well, maybe you can learn, but we know one game you're really good at, which is disc golf. And so obviously we're really rooting for you heading into Waco this weekend. I will ask our team, does anyone else have any other questions?
No, I just have a statement. I just want to say congratulations once again, Eveliina. Eveliina and I actually got to go to the Orlando Magic Utah Jazz game together with a bunch of friends. We got to hang out for a couple minutes after and see Lowry Markkanen really quick, which is cool. He's technically finished, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was kind of cool hearing you guys talk back and forth, and his voice is actually 10 times deeper than I thought it was. But anyways, I just want to say congratulations. It does me great to hear you say awesome things about the course. It was really enjoyable watching you go out there and shred it, and then being able to see just all the FPO players go out and have a good time. It definitely, the feedback on the FPO side was received a lot better, honestly, than I thought it would, and I think it just, like 99% of it was all great feedback. So once again, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
All right, does anybody here have anything to close out before we let Eveliina go? All 5 of us now. No? We're good. Eveliina,
thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Oh, Ben. Intern Ben. Anything? Do you buy her tour series disc? Do you support Eveliina like you do with everybody else?
Oh, what is your tour series disc for this year? Has it been announced yet?
It's coming.
Oh, it's coming.
Oh, a little exclusive.
Right.
No, I got nothing other than congratulations, and must feel pretty great getting a win 4 years later. That's awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
On the pro tour.
Well, we're looking forward to Waco. I already gave the teaser. We pick here, and I think you're going to do well. No pressure. You just do it for the fan. Do it for yourself. Do it for whoever. Right? You're going to do great. It's exciting to watch. It's exciting to watch, and we'll have you back on again when you're doing more cool disc golf stuff. We'll bring you back on. So thank you for your time. Is there anybody you'd like to shout out or anything at all before you go?
No, thanks all.
All right, awesome.
Thanks,
Eveliina
Eveliina.
Salonen, everybody. We're excited to have you. Peace out, Eveliina. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thanks.
All right, Eveliina on the show, first time. It's a big moment. I actually am really excited. Josh, she said she was a little bit nervous about her English, but to your point, there's nothing to be nervous about there. It's fantastic, and we appreciate the fact that she would just come on so boldly to do that.
It was incredible, and I want to say I am just so proud that someone with the first 2 letters in their first name, EV, got a win on the Disc Golf Pro Tour again. We're not related in any way. I'm not the least bit Finnish, and it's also our first names. But I'm rooting for Eveliina because you got to do it for the EVs.
There you go.
All right.
That's so random.
Can we?
That's how Evan does his pop lock and drops.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, let's actually go into that right now.
People actually spell Eveliina's first name wrong because they spell it like it's Evan to start EVA, and I was gonna say we're not that close.
EVELIINA.
So you're hearing some of the music here. We've got the segment pop,
Look at
drop,
this.
lock. It's getting improved a little bit here and there every week. And I already mentioned it at the start of the show. See if I can make it through talking here with my strep. But we have almost 300 people signed up in 1 week, which is fantastic. I honestly think word of mouth, if you enjoy this game, you're getting in at the ground level. It's free. It's fun. Presented by Hooligan. Hold on. I have this sweet hat I usually wear with my headphones on. I'm not pulling it off right now, but this is actually my go-to hat. I love everything that Hooligan's doing. In fact, the prize that's being given away for Pop Drop Lock all season coming from Hooligan, I think they have some stuff that hasn't even been released yet that they're probably giving away as a prize. Fortunately for everybody, we're only giving away to the winner, at least in the first. We'll play it out as we go, but the first few events we're definitely only giving away to the winner of Pop Drop Lock. So if you haven't signed up yet, it's easy. I had someone message us this week. Hey, how do you sign up? I said it's popdroplock.com. So just visit popdroplock.com. It's a mouthful, but it's fun, and Hooligan Discs is presenting it. Again, we're really excited to have them do that. So we're going to try to tighten this up a little bit. There will be a full game summary, including frequently asked questions that don't exist. We made them up, but they will be on popdroplock.com. Not right now. They're not. I think this week they will. We got Shrek, our IT guy. I don't know if we call him IT, our buddy, our tech buddy, building this out for us a little bit at a time. I saw someone in the chat actually said, hey, quality of life improvement. There's averages next to the names now for your picks. So if you haven't been there in a day or two, when you go to place your picks, you will see the average placement that they've done to this point in 2023 next to their name. And that's what you're picking Pop or Drop Lock on. Lock won't have averages because you don't need them. There is still no leader summary board. That will roll out hopefully in time for Monday, following the event. That Monday morning, you'll check back in and see how you finished. The winner, we will contact via email signed up with, and we'll provide it to you. There's a lot of rules, but again, that FAQ and that game summary is going up. You can read that. Again, not there yet, but read that. You just need to have your picks in by 7 a.m., the day of tournament start. So in this case, Thursday. I don't know what day that is off the top of my head.
7th?
Thank you. 7th at 7 a.m. Eastern.
Yes.
Is my understanding for the start time submit. It's going to be locked out. Pop Drop Lock. It will be locked out. You won't be able to make picks after that point, so get them in. But here's one other.
Get them in right now.
Well, here's the caveat. You ready? It actually is. It serves you well to get them in now, because if there is a tie, which I can imagine there's going to be somehow, some way, if there's a tie, it goes to whoever submitted their picks first, because we think there's actually an advantage to that, because you don't have, or I should say a disadvantage to earlier. So it's better. It's should be worth more points. So if you put it in tonight versus waiting till Wednesday night or Thursday morning, you should get awarded for that. So that's how it is right now. So get your picks in. Keep bringing us the nicknames. It's awesome. I got to tell you guys one that was passed my way this week, and I don't remember what account we were messaged on. So I apologize to the listener. You'll know who you are. He said, I had to share this nickname with you. He said it was Intelligent Donkey, and then it had some numbers. And if obviously you kind of put two and two together, what's the slang for Intelligent Donkey? Smart. So he's like, my friends would never let me hear this down. So if that was you put a smile on our face. So see what nickname you get. It's going to be really fun. And eventually on the leaderboard, you will be playing against us, as in you will see us at the top separate from everybody else to see who you're beating from the show. It's going to be an epic time. With that being said, we're going to get right into it. Nick, we're going to go ahead and put your picks up. We want you to walk us through your picks and then tell us why you're excited about them. And we'll just go around the horn here.
All right, well, I got my All-Star FPO side. My pop-off is going to be Eveliina. I don't have her locked to win this event. I think going back-to-back wins on the Pro Tour is pretty hard to do nowadays. Plus, we have Kristin Tatar coming into town, back to the U.S., playing Waco, and she's my lock, but I'll explain that later. So my pop-off will be Eveliina. I think she is going to tear it up out there. My drop, unfortunately, is going to be Sarah Hokum. I think this is going to be a hard track, especially adding the golf course into the tournament. Not exactly sure how that place is going to play yet, but I have her as my drop right now. And then my lock is Kristin Tatar, coming back strong after what I would assume was a very good offseason for her. I think a very relaxing, but also she probably played a lot of disc golf. And she's Kristin Tatar right now, the best in the world. She's my lock. And then jumping over to the MPO side, same exact reason. Anthony Barella, I think going back-to-back on the Elite Series is tough to do. But I do think he's going to a golf course. He's one of the best throwers, if not the best thrower in the game right now. And definitely has been playing well. So he's my pop-off player. Kyle Klein, the returning champion, I actually think is going to have a rough event. I have no specific reason why. He is just the player who I think is not going to do great at this one. And then my lock is Adam Hammes. I think his buddy just won last week at the Chess.com Invitational. Adam pops off this week and he wins the Waco Annual Charity Open.
I actually think it's a good pick to do Anthony Brella as a pop and not a lock, because you're playing your odds. Like you said, it's hard to go back to back, but you still have confidence in his playing.
Yes,
and his average, but we don't have it up yet. That's another future improvement for the show, but his average was pretty low. So as a follow-up for everybody, only for the first 3 events of this season are we using last season's stats. So following which event is it's the Open at Austin. The Open at Austin is still picks with the 2023 average. So Anthony could be another good pick. But once we hit those 3 events, everything resets to this year's stats and will build on itself. So, all right, moving into my picks here.
Really quick, I want to cut you off, Matt. I just want to say how sick this is. This whole buildup on the show right here, the pop, drop, and lock. Like, I'm
Nick, you haven't been here
impressed.
for like 4 weeks.
I know. I haven't been here for a while. And like seeing this, it made it so fun. Actually, like I felt like I was some dude on like TNT or Sports Center talking about my picks, and that was sick.
You are some guy on Staggered Stance.
Yeah, exactly. Just like it felt so legit. Kudos to you, Matt. Sick.
It is. We've been working on this for a while. Appreciate those nice words, Nick. So I will go to the MPO side on this one and finish with FPO. My pick for pop player is Silas Schultz. I have my drop as Corey Ellis. I'll react to this in a second. I have my lock. You ready for this? You see it on screen, don't you? Calvin Heimberg. I went from a drop at Olympus to a lock at Waco. And then for my FPO, Eveliina Salonen. I already gave that away, but that's my pop pick. Henna. Oh, I thought I changed this out. I did. I don't know why it didn't change on my screen here. What does it say here? Jennifer Allen. Okay. My pick, for some reason, in popdroplock.com didn't change over for me, so I'll make sure that gets changed. But Jennifer Allen is my... Oh, it's because I didn't hit submit. Everybody need to hit submit when you change a player. But Jennifer Allen is my pick for drop. And then my lock is Kristin Tattar. You remember a lot of conversation last year where I talked about, is this cool, is it exciting, is it boring, all that. You're seeing me pick both Calvin Heimberg and Kristin Tattar as my locks this week. Everybody mark it down. I will say, as just a comment here, Silas Schultz is very far down the list on his average. He's 45th. I looked into it a little bit. Looks like he plays Waco better than that in most cases. I expect to get points. Corey Ellis actually has a really significantly lower average at 28th. I didn't see in the stats, it didn't seem to show that he played this place well. I'm kind of rolling the dice on him, but we'll see how this all plays out. FPO makes sense, I think. Eveliina just needs to beat 13th place. And Jennifer Allen, this is why I'm going drop. She averages 9th last year. 9th. So all I need her to do to get points, now I'm rooting for her, but all I need to do to get points is have her place outside of 9th, and I think Waco's the place for her to do that. Moving over to, we'll put Evan the stat guy last, so we're going to go to Josh. Or let's go in and out. We'll do it per the list. Ben, you're up.
Skipping me. All right. My list looks similar to Matt's, actually, a little bit. We didn't talk about this. This is all first time seeing Matt.
Only 2 matches.
What?
I'm saying only 2 matched up. Go ahead.
Oh, it's a little similar. So I'm going pop Silas Schultz. Same reason as Matt. Just he does well at Waco and he is a low average. I'm dropping Ezra because he has a high average and he didn't play great last
Ezra
weekend.
Aderhold, not Ezra Robinson.
Right.
To be clear to our audio listeners, Ben.
I always get scolded by Evan on this. He's like my teacher. I swear.
Teacher.
That'll do, my friends.
So I picked him. He didn't do well last year, and he has a high average, and he didn't do well last week. So that's why I picked him. I'm locking in Bradley Williams. Like Evan was saying, he's the most winningest man in Texas. So I have faith that he's going to pull it off. Pop, I'm going Stacey Ronsley. I'm honestly just basing this off of averages and how she did well last event at chess.com. So hopefully that
she's a
pays off.
17th place finish. So yeah, you just need her to beat 17th.
Oh, I must be looking at the wrong chart then. Anyways, the drop, I'm going with Jennifer Allen because she is 9th and she didn't play well at Waco last year. So like that's an easy drop. I might have to pick that next tournament, and I don't even know because that's just a high average, and until the 2023 averages turnover. And then Ella Hansen, I'm going with the lock. I think she's got it, and I want my $20 from Matt.
He's gonna keep picking. Yeah, we didn't have that rule where you have to pick her for you to get the 20, but we'll just keep it as if she wins. This is actually, you picked her over Kristin, and Nick and I both picked Kristin. Ella last year, of course, we know how that went down. Josh, you're up.
All right, so here come my picks. So NPO, pop, Aaron Gossage, drop, James Proctor, and the lock is Ricky Wysocki. Simply put, Ricky looked great, and he can win any event, so picking him to win. Proctor, it's always hard to guess who may underperform, just literally looking at what happened last week. It'll be a question if he can improve on that. And then Aaron Gossage has looked really pretty good at the beginning of the year, but he averaged 23rd last year. So I think there's margin to get some points on you all. For FPO, pop, Eveliina Salonen. So matching three, there's 3 of us now with that. We just had the interview. Sounds like she's still confident. Drop, Valerie Mondahano, maybe still recovering. What's interesting about that pick is she's won this event. And I know that going into it, but just where I think it's at. And then lock Missy Gannon. And so I did not pick Kristin. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I think also, Matt, not that we're doing too much gamesmanship, but we said at some point we can only pick somebody to win an event a certain number of times.
Yeah, rules, as I mentioned, you'll want to check out the rules, everybody, on the website. It's not there yet. And I've reiterated it a few weeks. But yeah, to your point, Josh, you'll only be able to pick a winner of an event 5 times. There is gamesmanship to that. There is gamesmanship to that.
5's still a lot, so you're good, Nick. I mean, you can pick Kristin 5 times this year. So
yeah, but I want to pick Kristin 25 times.
Yeah, so you got to pick other players. That's where the gamesmanship comes in. So
okay.
All right. I think that's it. Josh, you went through all of them. Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Here we go. We're going over to Evan. Here they are. You can remind people about your drops if you want.
Yeah, well, my drops all year long will just be whoever Ben picks for his pop picks. He's got love for Silas Schultz. Not that I think he's going to do bad, but it's generally the same guy each week that I'm picking as my drop, and then we'll see who's on FPO. But my picks overall, my pop and NPO is Adam Hammis, drop is Silas Schultz, and my lock is Gannon Burr. In FPO, my pop is Anakin Sten. Sten. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm going to try my best. Drop is Stacy Ronsley, and my lock is Henna Blomroos. Nick, you picked Adam Hammis as your lock. I'm picking him as my pop just because I think a lot of points to be gained on the average, just as you would the lock. But I want to Gannon Burr as my lock. I mean, we're introducing the golf course, and I don't have stats to back this up. I didn't really dive into golf courses versus not. I don't know what this golf course looks like besides just seeing some of the caddy book. But I just feel like Gannon Burr plays well on golf courses. He's very much he's a thinker, and he's an OB kind of placement guy. And I think there's going to be a lot of that on Lake Waco, and then Waco itself, the first event that he really popped off at, even though he's not my pop pick. And he's played well here in the past, maybe not last year, but he has. So I like Gannon Burr as the winner. And then pop, I just liked Anakin Sten. We don't know. We don't have a ton of knowledge on how well she plays in the States, but she's a great player and a low average that I think she can get ahead of. And then lock, Henna Blomroos. This is lock again. It's not necessarily who you think's going to win, but who you think is locked in to finish really well. You still get points for a top 5 finisher, and I think even top 10.
Top 10 even. But, I think it's 6 to 10. 6 to 10 gives you 5 points.
Yeah, not as good as a winner pick. So I don't know if I'd pick Henna Blomroos as my winner, but I do really like her as a lock. I think she's playing one of the best, and I think Eveliina winning might spark some game in her. Plus, it might help out her confidence as well. If Eveliina can do it, she can do it. And so I like her here at Waco. Interesting enough, I should have double checked this, but when Eveliina Salonen won Waco in 2020, Henna Blomroos finished second. So it'd be pretty interesting if something similar happens, or even the reverse this year.
I am literally stoked about this game. The grip 6, pick 6, I don't know if that's trademarked or whatever, but I don't think that's happening anymore because of the way UDisc was integrated. this is your option. If you liked playing the game, do it. It's going to be fun for us just to look and see who's performing well. In fact, I'll just put up last week's points. I know it's small on screen there, but just to look into, Nick, you got 18 points. Evan got 11.
18 points.
Yeah,
you didn't come in last. Congrats.
To be clear, that was last week points. Yeah. These will be updated.
I had AB winning. That doesn't count for much,
those are great picks.
That was a good pick,
Nick. That's how bad.
Picks.
That's literally how bad you and I did with our FPO. It was incredible. So, you do get negative points if you go the wrong way. All of that being said, it should be a fun game. Again, get them in.
You guys get 65 points,
dude. Chandler Kramer for Ben.
Here.
I think it was Chandler Kramer dropping so far.
Insanity.
So
I should have switched my pick while I was.
I also had AB
in practice.
Yeah, I also had AB as a pick to win, so that helped me.
He had a pop and a pick. That was massive points for you.
Coming in with 59.
This should be a lot of fun. I appreciate everyone sticking around with us on this as it's being developed as we go. We're not millionaires over here, thousandaires even. Well, maybe we're thousandaires, but you guys stick with us.
Hopefully.
You'll see. Yeah, hopefully. You'll see quality of life go up with this. You will see things adding and being adjusted. Again, get the picks in before Thursday morning, 7 a.m. Eastern, and you'll be in this round to play. Everything goes well. We'll see the results. It should be a fantastic time. I do want to shout out before I drop out again. My voice is at its max. Is the latest subscriber in our on screen is Melissa Radford. Now, you may not know that from anybody else under the sun, but that is one of the owners, along with her husband, Scott, of Disc Golf 978. Thank you for subscribing there. I do want to also say they moved into Meadowbrook Orchard's disc golf course. If you've never been there, it's because you're probably not local. But if you fly out and you want to check out Maple Hill, it's literally a town or two, maybe 2 towns over. But it's within like 20 minutes. And it is a course that is on the rise here. It's definitely, what is it now? Top, 63? What in the world? 63 in the world.
I think, yeah.
Something like that. And Disc Golf 978 is in their country store. So you can get lunch, breakfast, buy disc, play around. It is absolutely amazing. So shout out to them. And thank you, Hooligan, for presenting Pop, Drop, Lock. Evan, what do you got?
Real quick on
real quick before. Okay, fine.
Okay, no. You if you're talking about Meadowbrook, go ahead.
Okay,
are you talking about Meadowbrook? Yeah.
I was just gonna say I was there yesterday. I mean, it was a beautiful day. The place was absolutely packed. The disc golf course was packed. The restaurant was packed. I mean, 978 was looking great in there. So congrats to 978 on the move. Congrats to Meadowbrook for having a disc golf shop within their course.
Awesome.
To go along with their great restaurant. I mean, I love when disc golf courses are packed, even if it's a little bit slower and you might wait on the tee. But on a beautiful day in the winter when it's like 60 plus degrees and it's sunny and you just see like a hole over there and, it's a group of people playing, a hole over there, a group of people playing, and you can just see it packed. Like, that's what disc golf's about. That's so cool. And so I just congrats to both Meadowbrook and 978 for just, doing great things in the sport that we all love.
Yeah. Same sentiment to me. I love Disc Golf 978. They're the best. And Dave for Meadowbrook. But Hooligan Disc, the presenting sponsor of Pop Lock Drop, that segment, they are releasing the Vibe tomorrow. Their first disc coming to market with their new manufacturer. It's coming out. It's a bomber. It flies straight. Use code BEN10. That's the BEN10 for 10% off. Sure, but it's my code, and I think I'm the only person with a code. So if you use BEN10, you're the only person getting 10% off. It's dropping tomorrow. The Vibe. Let's go. That's all.
All right. Well, nicely done. I just let that sit and marinate for everybody. But yes, thank you to all those who support our show. Truly, it's good for us. It's hopefully good for them, and it's good for the listeners. Check out these people we're talking about. It's they're supporting the community, and they've got good products and good experiences. So that's awesome. All right, so we're just about an hour in, and we've got plenty of stuff to talk about. But Nick, maybe we come back just for a few minutes. You already shared a little bit about kind of coming off of Chess.com's event, comparing it to Ben's experience. Once the expo is done, you're kind of like you can kind of breathe, but then you've got more on the horizon. But now that we just have a few more minutes to reflect on that. Is there anything in particular, I'd be curious what you would highlight that went the best, and maybe where you see there are opportunities where you already know you're planning on doing something different, presuming everything comes back again next year?
Yeah, I mean, the goal is obviously to get chess.com to come back and then also the Pro Tour to come back. The goal is to obviously be an Elite Series event again. We are shooting to be an Elite Plus event as well next year. I think we want to set the standard as high as we can with what we are capable of doing over at Olympus. Realistically, I think everyone kind of knows the timeline that we are constricted with when it comes to building the course and getting it ready. It was not a long time, and I think we actually excelled in a lot of different areas. We created a couple beautiful brand new holes that everyone seemed to love, those being hole 5 and hole 9 on the property were holes that everyone enjoyed playing. The scenery of it was really great. One of, I would say, the biggest things that I worked with the Pro Tour on that week, and shout out to the Disc Golf Pro Tour, their staff, their ops team, media team, just everyone there hustled to get the first event going of the year with the All-Star event and then also chess.com. But one of the biggest things looking forward to in 2025 is creating the property to be a little bit more spectator friendly, but then also spectator accessible when it comes to getting to different areas. And when you look at, when you're selling general admission tickets versus VIP tickets, you want everyone to be able to enjoy the show nonetheless. And so we want to create new general admission areas that you can kind of hang out at the top of this ridgeline. And next year you'll be able to watch holes 12, 13, 14, 15, and a little bit of 16, all from the top of this ridge line that surrounds the property. And so we have ideas like that. So pretty much just creating, a better spectator experience. And then also I want to create the chess.com area, the fan zone that we had. It was super successful and an incredible time. We had an amazing VIP party on Friday evening. That was super great. The chess.com crew was incredible to work with. And I want to create kind of more festivities when it comes to doing that. I don't want the tournament and festival to kind of be going on just Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like, I would love to start everything on Tuesday or Wednesday of that week and just get people rolling in there just to hang out and enjoy. Like, players are out practicing, but spectators and fans can still come and have cool experiences. Pros coming off the course, I want to take a little bit of time to do some signing and some pictures, while also being able to learn more about chess and how we're kind of bringing the two sports into each other. So those are kind of the biggest things to take away from it. Our goal next year is to actually have concrete tee pads, which was our goal this year. Actually, we wanted to do concrete tee pads for the tour level layout, but because of our timeline and the permitting that it would have taken for a construction company to come in and do the tee pads, it was a little bit too close to when the tournament was about to start. And so we decided, let's just do the turf tee pads. And obviously a lot of people have read posts and seen, it's very, some people absolutely love the tee pads and some people absolutely hated them. I definitely will say down in Florida, we have chances to rain, for an hour or two almost every single day. At some point, it always feels like it rains. And I would definitely say that when the tee pads are wet, and especially with the clay and the mud that's here, they kind of trek onto the tee pad. I mean, I put on 200 to 400 pounds of sand on almost every single tee pad. And they still, in some areas where the sunlight doesn't hit them too much throughout the day, they still seem slick. So I'm not in love with the tee pads, but it was weird because the Monday after the event, I went out and played around and I didn't slip on a single tee pad. Now, they had more time to dry out throughout the day, and I wear aggressive tread shoes. So that could be one of the things, but at the same time, concrete tee pads is on the list of things to do going into next year's chess.com Invitational. I'm going to keep calling it that until someone tells me otherwise. Exactly. Until they say
a way
no.
to draw them back in. So so that's so more spectator friendly. Mm-hmm. We did hear feedback, assorted feedback on tees. So it sounds like in general you agree there's opportunity to improve that, most likely with concrete. Any significant hole or layout changes that you expect? Or I guess you have a year to think about that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things is hole 17. Evan would know, he was there in person. The hole itself is an incredible hole. It's fun to watch when they film it correctly, but it's a logistical nightmare for the DGPT. We kind of opened up 2 different gaps that players could go through, and we thought, okay, you have a cameraman over here and you have a cameraman over here, and you kind of switch the cameras when you know you need to. But then come to find out that players like an Anthony Barella can go up and over the top, and we never even thought about that because of the elevation that hole has. And so, honestly, hole 17, for it being a great hole, is one that will probably change up a little bit for next year. I did find a really cool space in the property to where we could create an awesome uphill wooded hole that does still use the pond that's on 17, but more as a finishing area. So that's probably one of the biggest changes to the course that we'll make, is figuring out exactly how to do hole 17 better. And that's mainly just for the DGPT and for media in general, DGN, because when you go out and play the hole right now, it's awesome. You have 2 different fairways. You can go the aggressive birdie route, or you can go the non-aggressive par route that could potentially get you a birdie if you throw 2 great shots. But when it comes to filming it, they definitely didn't love it. And
hole 17 is being up in like the catch position to do scoring. That landing zone is so tight and it's blind. You have to throw over a hill and clear a pond and then land. That landing zone's what, like 15 to maybe 20 feet wide, and then there's
25 to 45 in good areas, but yeah.
Okay, or maybe okay. It widens at some point. Yeah,
it
so
does.
Maybe 45 is more fair, but then it drops off OB behind it. Yes. It's. I don't think people realize how incredibly skillful it is to throw that shot and land in bounds, and like the majority of the top players were all doing that, and it is a hard hole to capture. For it's hard for fans to see it. Maybe it's hard for cameras to see. So I understand all those logistical reasons, but it's kind of like it's jaw dropping. I don't even know, awe inspiring. I don't even know what words to use because it's so incredible what they do. But a quick little fun story on hole 17 as well. I was doing the where the shots were landing and the distances to the pin, because that was a really exciting addition that we were adding. It was for Gannon Burr's chase card in round 2. He threw an upshot that leaked out left, and he was like, it's out of bounds. I went and marked it, put it in, and I was like C1. It was like 28 feet or something, and just looking at my phone. Is like, was it in bounds? Like, he had no clue, and here I am. He's like trying to get my attention to see if it was in or out, and I'm just oblivious to the situation. So that's a fun situation, a little thing that I don't think anyone saw.
I'm not sure, is the chat hearing Evan? I was just realizing his audio was not showing up on our mix, but nobody was saying anything, which is
Oh, do we all hear Evan?
I hear him.
Oh.
I mean, he's on screen, so I don't know why he wouldn't be, but I don't see his audio level. So
he was telling us how Gannon-Burr was waving his hands.
Everyone's saying they hear him. I'm sorry.
Okay, we're all good.
My audio mixer is literally not showing me your audio, so that's weird. We'll just keep rolling. Here you go.
That is weird. Well, that's a fun story. I mean, Gannon, if you're listening, or one of your friends, sorry for not noticing you, but I thought it was pretty funny afterwards, because Dion had a video of his upshot, and I'm seeing Gannon like see if it's safe or out, and I'm just sitting there in the back looking at my phone doing nothing. So but hey, I'm there to provide the data to everyone watching at home, and not just Gannon-Burr, so that's okay.
Awesome. Well, Nick, you will be busy, as you mentioned, with Throw Down the Mountain plus plenty of other things, so I'm sure your year will come fast. But again, we said this on the show without you here, but congrats. Obviously, you put a lot of time and effort, and
thank you.
By all, maybe some people have their opinions, but generally, by all accounts, everybody loved it and wants to be back, and that's a success, because it's not easy to pull off on the tour these days.
Yeah, one of the and I'll kind of end it with this little rant, was when players first started getting into town, kind of the benefit of being the all-star event and the first tournament of the year was players were there a week to 2 to almost 3 weeks early, when we actually first opened up the course at the beginning of February. And so I was able to get a lot of feedback from players. I was able to ask them opinions on things that they noticed out in the course that maybe shouldn't be there. I was able to work with Paul on the days that he was out there, to where if I had someone running the shop, I could go out with Paul with a chainsaw and go look at stuff. Oh, this needs trimming. Great. And then it was like that with a lot of pros. I mean, Aaron Gossage came out and was like, hey, can we, take a look at this? What do you think? And then we'd take a look at it. We'd fix it. And then boom, it was great, because the pros are the ones we were building that tournament for. And then now we get to showcase it to the local community here in Florida. And people have been traveling far and wide to come and help out. So it's been great to work with the pros. And I think one of the things that makes me happiest through all of it was I was very curious to see how the FPO players would enjoy the layout, because I actually think it's a really, really fun layout, just in general. And like I said earlier, about 99% of them literally said they absolutely loved it. It was one of their favorite spots on tour. I mean, Paige Pierce had said it's one of the most prettiest and unique properties that they'll play pretty much all year. And so seeing things like that and knowing the hard work and the dedication that myself and a group of people, there's far too many to name, but like the Williams brothers, Jeff Corns' staff, Danny McDonald, people like that, we were able to kind of create something and bring it to the Pro Tour. And so all in all, it was an incredible experience. I definitely was pulling out hairs when the All-Star event was going on and it was pouring rain. That was not fun. I got my skid steer stuck on one of the holes because I was trying to fix up stuff, but we persevered, we got through it, and yeah, what an incredible experience. My favorite part of the whole event, to be honest, was on Sunday. I finally was able to take a morning off of running around. So during the event, I went out golfing with Ken Climo, Magnus Carlsen, and his brother-in-law, Bror, and I was able to enjoy 9 holes of golf without any stress, and no one texted or called me saying they needed help, they needed something done. All the teams handled what they need to handle. And then I was finally able to go to the course after that and just watch and enjoy disc golf. I got to watch Paul play. I got to watch the FPO finish up. I got to kind of watch the first 2 champions ever crowned at Olympus, which was really cool. It was definitely a very heartwarming moment. And I'm just beyond excited for 2025 already. We want to do bigger and better things now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Nothing like a humble brag. You're like, I just played golf with Magnus Carlsen.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet. So what's funny is,
that.
my goal awesome. That week actually, because I've known for a while that he was coming to the event. We had to keep it on the down low, but one of the things that I wanted to say was, being in the position that I've been in disc golf, I fortunately have been able to meet so many incredible people in different areas of life who have celebrity status. Dylan Cease, Ben Askren, Andrew Zimmern was on our podcast before. And so I want to always say that I've done these cool things with other celebrities. And so I want to try to hit a fastball off of Dylan Cease. I know I'm not going to be able to, but I want to try it. And then I get to say that I did that. One of the things that I wanted to do this past week was I wanted to play Magnus in a game of chess. And funny enough, and this is, I'll make this a very quick story, but I played one of the chess.com staff members who is a very, very good chess player. And I thought he was going to beat me in 10 moves or less. And we were all having fun drinking one night. And so we're playing the big chessboard, the big one with all the tall pieces. And I ended up getting to a point where I made one bad move, which ended up costing me the game. But I think I lasted almost 25 to 35 moves or whatever it was. And then the kid came up to me after. His name was Kara. Incredible to work with. Super cool dude. He came up to me after and he was like, just so you know, you actually were in a major winning position about 8 moves into the game. He said, I had him on the ropes until I made one bad mistake and then just tried to keep fixing it. And so that was really cool. But my goal was to play one game of chess against Magnus Carlsen, literally just to say that I've played chess against him. But when the opportunity came up to go golfing with him, I thought personally that was way cooler because I wanted to just play golf in general. I got to play with him and his brother-in-law, Bror. And then it was also with Ken Climo, which just in general, I've never played disc golf with Ken Climo, but I've gotten to play golf with Ken Climo.
How did that opportunity even come up? He just asked you, want to hit the links?
Yeah, so I was talking to Bror and they were talking about how they were going golfing right after the kind of interview that they were doing that morning with Paul. And I asked them if they had played at the Brooksville Country Club yet, and they said no, they haven't. They couldn't get a tee time there, and so I was like, "Hey, hold on, let me make a call. I'll see if I can get you guys in there. How early do you want to play?" And they said 7:30 in the morning. They had a flight to catch later that morning, early afternoon. And anyways, as I was talking with the Brooksville Country Club, they asked me how many people, and I asked them. I said, "Is it just the 2 of you?" And then they had asked if I wanted to join them, and so I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely going to join you guys. Are you sure?" And he was like, "Yeah, of course." And that's pretty much how it came up. I was trying to set them up with a tee time just to go enjoy Brooksville outside of the tournament. And then they invited me to play. So, and then I invited Climo to come out because he used to be a great golfer. He still is a great golfer. I think he ended up I played really well, which I was kind of stoked about. I was actually hitting the ball really well. And I think he beat me by 1 or 2 or 2 or 3. But it was awesome nonetheless. We got to play the back 9 of the Brooksville Country Club and just enjoy a morning of hanging out. And yeah, it was my first morning of not being on that course and I don't know how long. So it felt great to just kind of go out and chill out with them. And then I drove Magnus and his brother-in-law back to their hotel to, they were going out to the airport. And so I was talking with Magnus just about random things. And it turns out he's a big Celtics fan. So we got to talking about basketball for the next 25 minutes. And that was really cool. Just having conversation outside of what both him and I do was really fun. He absolutely loves basketball. So I don't know. And then I asked if he wanted to come on the podcast sometime soon. So he'll say, yeah, sure. We'll try to make it work. And so maybe one day we'll have Magnus Carlsen on the podcast.
That'd be awesome.
Bring it.
Yeah. Trying to.
So again, that's awesome. So let's pivot. So that was last weekend, a bunch of events this weekend, and next week is Waco. We just interviewed Eveliina, who said when her mindset is strong, it seems to be like she thinks she can win any event, which is probably true. But I believe this is also the first time we're planning to see Kristin Tatar, right, re-enter the FPO field this season. Several of us on this show picked her for the lock to win, which is not a big stretch. With such a successful season last year, I forget what her average finish was, but it was like 2 point something.
One.
But her average was like 2 point something. Yeah. Obviously the Grand Slam. Does she feel any pressure outside of the norm? I think every player feels some pressure to win, right? If you're a professional, but is there any additional pressure after the year last year that she's bringing into her first event this year? I don't know, like what are your thoughts? Or does she rise to it and doesn't feel any pressure?
I think there's pressure kind of going from a long off season and then, missing the first Elite Series of the US swing, missing the first one and coming back for the second one at an event that she did win the previous year. And so I think there's the pressure of going back to back, kind of defending your title. That adds a little bit of pressure. But yeah, then I think there's also pressure just coming from Estonia back over to the US, getting back after such an incredible season. But I don't think it's enough pressure to kind of shake what she's going to do. I think she's just as good, if not better. That's what we'll see, I think, throughout this 2024 DGPT season. And so, yeah, I think there is pressure, but I don't think it's enough to amount to anything where she's going to crumble under it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because, one, it's like, even if she has an incredible year, just by pure statistical outcomes, it'll be hard for her to match what she did last year, right? Even if she plays incredible, that's still very, very hard to do what she did. Can she do it? Probably yes. I would say why not? Not a whole lot has changed in the FPO scene. It seems like she's had a pretty interesting offseason, right? Kind of hiring a manager to help offload some things. She's gotten plenty of recognition and ad deals, right, in her home country. And so, what kind of mental state from an outsider? It certainly looks like she's going to come in fresh and ready to go, intentionally missing the first, the All-Star event and the first event, kind of doing it on her terms. So I don't think there's any extra pressure that would throw her off. But what will be interesting is if she finishes this is why the pressure is unique. If she finishes outside of the top three, which by the way, I don't know if any of us would even pick that, but if she does, that will be an interesting, if Eveliina were to win, for example. Now these are all what ifs, right? We call them counterfactuals. They're you can't play the what if game, but it is interesting to think, Eveliina gets a win, comes back. If she were to win and Kristin fall out, then Kristin would still be one of the best. We would probably all pick her to continue to win for a while, but it could be an interesting twist on the narrative. So I think that's the kind of thing to watch for are the expectations so high that if she doesn't win or get second place, do we make a big deal of that or not? Whether it's fair or not really isn't the point, but I feel like she should be ready to go. I can't imagine she feels extra pressure that's going to throw her off. Yeah.
I think Evan needs to be on screen to be heard. For the YouTube. For the YouTube chat.
All right.
Is Matt still there?
No, Matt? He says he has to come back in a minute.
Okay, yeah.
Gotcha. That's why.
Yeah, we'll bring you back. Well, unless chat, you heard Evan, let me know, but
for our
Evan. So they said no Evan, yeah. So he needs to be brought up.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
For our audio listeners, as a reminder, Matt is fighting strep throat, so he's only been a partial part of our show. He's producing the show. Evan had a comment, but we can't hear him unless we actually bring him up. So anyway, we'll keep chugging forward.
And I'm not there to change the switches, so that's why.
I was going to say
we're good. I mean, Evan, sorry, I'm sure you had a great point, but for the rest,
keep your point with you, Evan. We're going to get you back up on screen in just a minute. But I was going to say, we saw the 2023 season dominant Kristin Tattar, Grand Slam winner, just incredible season. We saw this in 2015 with Paul Macbeth, and then in 2016, it was not a great year for him. He suffered a major back injury. It was the first year of losing Worlds after winning 4 straight titles. And we honestly, I don't remember, but I don't think back then we were all like, oh, there we go. Paul Macbeth is done. He's done. Because then a couple years after that, he came in 2019 and had the second best season I think that's ever been had for an MPO player in 2019. So even if Kristin Tattar in 2024 has an average season compared to what we just saw her have, then I would say in 2025 or 2026, we'd see the same thing where she'll probably have the second best season ever as an FPO player. But I think for where she's at right now, barring any injuries, she stays on top of things. And I think she still dominates the game, stays on top of it. It's such a crazy in the FPO style of things right now. It's crazy watching the Europeans throw. Look at Kristin, look at Henna, look at Eveliina. They have such a powerful throw. Eveliina being, kind of the flashiest off the tee when it comes to raw power. Henna being able to throw just as far as her, if not further sometimes. And we saw Henna throw over the water at USDGC for the distance thing. And then Kristin Tattar, who has very smooth form, but it's powerful and explosive at the last second. And then we don't see that as much from a lot of the other FPO players on the American side of things. And so it's just kind of a different change of the game. And I think as the courses keep extending, I mean, look at Waco. It went from one of the shortest tour courses on tour all year to now being a longer one because they added a golf course into it. So even the FPO side is turning into a thrower's game. And then having to hit your lines, like Eveliina was just saying earlier, being a powerful thrower, but also hitting lines. And then regardless of whatever course it is, you have to make your birdie putts or your par putts. But I think Kristin Tattar just still has in her overall game, she's on such a high level with all of it that barring any injury, I don't think she stumbles at all.
Yeah. I would imagine, I don't know her travel arrangements, but she's probably on the way or about to be on the way with the event just a few days away. So we'll be looking forward to that. It was last week, I think everybody was just as impressed by the FPO field, and the win was given full credit. But obviously having Kristin here, right, is going to be a new set of eyes on the FPO field. Lots of excitement, plenty of top players on the top, and there's storylines further down the leaderboard in FPO as well. So let's transition a little bit to talk about world rankings. So the PDGA.
Wait, do we have Matt back?
Yeah,
do we have Matt back?
Yeah, we do.
Can you throw Evan up? He had a point earlier. Hey.
Yo, Evan, now we can hear you and see you.
All right, cool. Well, all I was going to say is, I mean, Kristin's, she's a top athlete who's going to come into the season prepared. We all know this. And so she's not the type of player who's going to show up being like out of form, going to be not hitting the putting green, missing her lines. Like she's going to come up looking good. But I think the other point of pressure is like how big she has been in Estonia. She's getting invited by the president to be at these like fancy attire, like ball gatherings. Like it's kind of incredible the type of celebrity she is over there. And I got to feel that they're going to be proud of her no matter what, even if she, isn't winning all the events or, has a 12th place finish. My goodness, if she finishes that low. But I think the pressure is still there in some spot. But Nick, I think your point earlier, I agree with fully that there is pressure, but she will overcome it no problem. And I wanted to make one more point too, that missing the first event of the year being Chess.com Invitational isn't all that weird because last year she also missed the first event of the year. She started her season at Waco. Historically, she also was not. She wasn't winning her first event in a U.S. stint after going home and coming back to the U.S. She wasn't winning those events, but then last year Waco was the first time that she did win it, I believe. I believe it was the first time. And so it kind of broke that narrative. And I think it's going to be the expectation that she is going to be the heavy favorite going into this event at Waco. So it'll be really interesting to see, again, new course at Lake Waco joining Brazos East. So she's won at Brazos East, but we have no clue how she's going to perform at the golf course. but she's won at golf courses before. So I don't have any concerns about her play, but I don't think it's like 100% lock given throughout the whole season either. But that's my take, so we can carry on now.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So talking about Kristin, number one, I think there would be no debate on that. We saw PDGA publish world rankings, which is great to see. For the last few years, there's been a lot of different ranking systems, point standings, rankings, power rankings. But we see the PDGA kind of officially publishing these after the chess.com Invitational. I'm not sure if you all got a chance to see them, but they published who the top 10 in the current world rankings are. And so just as a group here, any general reactions, if you've had a chance to look, it's in our show notes. FPO, Kristin Tatar. MPO, Calvin Heimberg, number one. Calvin didn't have a great event at chess.com, and Kristin didn't play. But further down the board, we can see other movement. But curious, Ben or Nick, if you took a glance at that. If not, I can elaborate on a few more comments. But any reactions on what you're seeing on that world rankings?
No reaction to the FPO side, but my only reaction to the MPO side is it's funny because you have Calvin Heimberg, you have Gannon Burr, you have Ricky Wysocki, you have Isaac Robinson, all incredible players where Ricky just finished second at the chess.com Invitational, was very much in contention to win it, and then Calvin was lower down the leaderboard. I don't remember exact placing with it,
34th.
But it's funny because I don't know, like I think Calvin is one of the best players, and I think very frequently he is the best player, but at the same time, I think I feel like the number one for MPO should be flopping every single week right now. Like, I feel like there's so many players who are just stepping up one week with another player dropping, like Ricky Wysocki gets second, Calvin Heimberg gets 34th, did you say?
34th for Calvin Heimberg.
Yeah. 34th. I don't know. So I think Calvin's an absolutely incredible player. But I don't have a lock right now for me personally, who I think is the world ranking number one. But if the stats show it, then Calvin's number one. I won't argue with that.
So I'll add a little context, and then Ben, Evan, of course, weigh in. These were established in partnership with Sport Edge, a man named Mark Brody, who's also done a lot of work for PGA Golf and a lot of statistical background and analysis. And I'm not going to go into all the details, but this is basically a rolling 2-year world ranking. So Nick, when you think about that, this is actually a 2-year picture, 104 weeks.
Okay.
And it's a kind of a sunsetting system, meaning the further back you go, the events aren't weighted as much. So as events roll off, it's not a significant shift because they're weighting towards the tail end of 2 years is not nearly as much. Majors are weighted more. The weighting of the event based on the competition comes into play. And there's a bunch of other potential factors. So, it really depends on your perspective, and there's not a right or a wrong opinion, but that's what these world rankings are. And, Nick, if you were expecting more swapping, it's probably more of a short-term power ranking, in my opinion, versus
that makes sense.
Do you want to see like a little bit of a more stable, and the answer doesn't have to be yes, because people may not want this, but if you want to see a more stable view of a big picture, who's the top players in the world, that's where you're getting that number. And so you're not going to see significant movement. So in fact, even in this the first time this was kind of published, Isaac Robinson jumped up 2 spots. Paul McBeth dropped down 2. So there's a little bit of jockeying there. And then you saw Kyle Klein move up 1 and Chris Dickerson move down 1. But you don't see AB in the top 10. I think he's just below that, by the way. I think he's really close, but you don't see him in the official top 10. So yeah, I love it because it actually gives us a narrative to talk about, which is a big part of what being a sports fan is.
You explaining it that way makes a lot more sense why it has been the way it has been. So I guess, you said it perfectly. I'm thinking more power rankings rather than world rankings, but this is why I love that you're added onto the show, because that literally explained it perfectly for me. And I'll shut up about it now. Evan.
You can still have an opinion, by the way.
I think Josh said it really well, and will take a lot of the words out of my mouth, so I don't have to re-say them. I think one thing that's great. I'm glad you said it, and you said it well, and that's good. I think one important thing is people are allowed to like what they like. Some people want to see a world ranking. Some people want to see maybe a power ranking. Some people might just want, standings for whatever tour they follow. And like whatever way you take it in is great. And it's totally acceptable to like what you like. But I think there's just a lot of misconceptions on maybe what should be for a world ranking or what should be for, standings. And, that gets a little bit tougher because they do each have their own reasons for existing, and it's good for them to each be different in their own way. And just to add on to what a world ranking should be is it's through longevity and it's era defining. It's not. It is for right now, but I think it's even more so to tell the history of the sport. So as we are right now entering the 2024 season and one event in now, we want to know, like, Calvin Heimberg and Kristin Tattar are the number one players in the world. We know this, and that is what they should be from a long era defining ranking. It might change throughout the season, but like when we look back in 10 years of who the best player, number one player coming into the seasons were, I don't think you can argue it. But if you want to say who you think is going to win Waco, the next event, or who you think is going to be the next, who's going to be the best player through the next 3-4 events, that's a totally different system. That's not necessarily what a world ranking is. It might align, but it's not necessarily what it is. It's not, Vegas betting odds. It's not any of the other things. It's what you look back in history. If I want to look back now at 2014 and see who was the best player in 2014, it's either going to be Paul McBeth, or it's going to be Paul McBeth. But like throughout that decade, it was Paul McBeth or Ricky Wysocki kind of once you hit 2013 or so. And that lasted close to a decade. Like that's the era defining stuff we want to see. How often did it switch between Ricky and Paul? Like not every other week, but it did switch a couple times throughout that decade. That's something we want to see and tells the history of our sport, which is why rankings like this are so important. And so again, if you want to say, I don't care right now, I don't want to see a world ranking, I want to see power rankings, I just want to look at Disc Golf Pro Tour standings, nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to argue with you. But if you do feel like, hey, this is the wrong system just because, Calvin Heimberg's number one and he finished 34th, like, well, you want a different system, and that's totally okay.
Yes. All right. So here's a little bit more information. So Ben, I'm going to throw something your way. This is not an actual quiz. And to be clear, no credit to me. I took this directly from the PDGA in an interview they had with Mark Brody. So like I did not crunch these. Is if you go back to September of 2021 and look at what the world rankings would have been then, which of course is actually looking back 2 years prior to that, right? Because it's 104 weeks of data. So really from like 2019 through that all the way up till like now, there have only been 3 number one ranked players in MPO. So who do you think they are, Ben? So in that like roughly 4-year window, who are the top 3? There's only been 3 ever in that time frame. Who are they? You know the one right now.
So the one right now, Calvin?
Yep. So there's one. So you only got 2 more.
I feel like this is a trick question.
No trick question.
Because I would just go with Ricky.
Yep. No, you got it.
And Paul.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
No trick questions.
That's way too easy. I think the way you framed it, I was like,
no, just quizzing you. So, but in FPO, there's only been 2 number ones in that same era. So, who do you think those are?
Well, that when you asked for opinions on that, that's what I was shocked about. Seeing Eveliina and Henna as opposed to Katrina Allen and Paige Pierce. I was like that. That's my first initial gut reaction. They're not in the top 5. Not Paige is number 7. So right off the bat, I was like, I don't know.
Well, Paige just dropped. She also dropped 4 slots, and part of that is because of the amount of competition she's had. Yeah.
So, I don't even know when the last time that ever was. I know Katrina struggled last year, which makes sense, but just to see those 2 new names and kind of the legends, the GOATs, so to speak, for the past decade before, it's kind of surprising and kind of like crazy that we're kind of seeing a new era. And going back to Kristin Tattar talk, I think these new people, or that we've always been like, all right, these are the next generation. I think they're going to live up to their potential a little more this year and really give Kristin a run for her money. Maybe she just wins half as much. But I think there's going to be a lot more. You guys used to say this all the time before I started, before I was on the show. A lot more parity.
Yes, the word parity.
You used to always say it.
Well, this is why I find the world rankings interesting too, being a slightly more slow moving statistic, is you get a broader narrative. In our show, to your point, Evan, we're going to talk every week about what happened last week and what might happen next week, right? Like the short term is very, very interesting. But when you look at a big picture, you kind of get a general, like I said, looking back in the last 4 years, you really get the idea, okay, we're really only talking 3 number 1 players. That's an interesting narrative. There's lots of other players who are going to push up against that in the next few years, but that's what's exciting. Who's going to dethrone Calvin, right? Because it's not going to be easy because it's a 2-year rolling thing, right? So he could hold on to that for a decade if he can perform well. And so to me, it's intriguing. And yes, Ben, that's why I think when you see players that we can't call them new anymore, so it's really probably not even fair to say that, but like Holly Hanley and Ella Hansen, creeping up in these standings, and then Eveliina and Henna being in number 3 and 4 slot. It's interesting. So. Anyway, any other thoughts on world rankings? I don't know how often we're going to see these published. I don't know if it's post every elite or major event. I don't know the frequency, but I'm sure we'll be looking for updates.
I believe it's post every major and elite event, yes, throughout the whole season, which is
we'll see it consistently. Yeah.
So it'll be updated fairly regularly, although we probably won't see a lot of movement. I shouldn't say that. We may see movement every single week, but we probably won't be see significant jumps. But, it will be interesting. We don't have to react to this, but like Chris Dickerson being number 10, right? Does he hang on, right? Or is he out, right? A few more sub performances, and, other players who are right outside of that, wouldn't be surprised. So probably a little bit more jockeying at the bottom of that leaderboard, I would expect.
Yeah, and you can also find, I believe it's the top 100. Maybe it's more. I haven't checked it recently, but you can check the full list on the PDGA's website, or oh my goodness, I need to get this right. Official disc golf world. Oh my goodness, hold on, it's one of those two. I've mixed this up before. I believe it's ODGWR, but let me double check on that. But you can find it at that
we'll have to go ask the PDGA. Oops.
That's my fault right there for since it's been announced, I've said it back and forth, and that's my own fault. But you can find the full list there. I know the social media posts have been just the top 10 because it's a social media post, and there's only so many players you can fit in a social media post. So there's definitely a longer list than the top 10. If you're wondering where Anthony Barella is, well, you can find it. And if you want to find where your favorite player is who's not in the top 10, you can also find that as well.
Is Nick Carl on that list? No, sorry.
No.
I don't know if he quite makes it. No, sorry, Nick.
I don't think in my life I ever crested that many. I think UDisc, my highest was in the 120s or 130s.
Yeah, well, the fun thing is, as you said, this official, again, I think it's Disc Golf World Rankings. Oh my goodness, this is going to look so bad on me. I apologize to all the fans out there who rely on me as a good source of information.
That'll do, my
because I'm missing up the words. Yeah. But as building the Statman to official rankings that we've used in the past, I'll do a quick look, Nick, and see what your highest ranked position on that ranking was, which that one does consider all events, and it's a different system, but similar.
You really don't have to.
Oh, hey, I think it's pretty cool, because if you're top 200, I think that's pretty good.
I can't imagine I'd be close to that anymore.
So,
look, I got 43rd at Worlds one year in Utah, and I felt pretty good about that. So,
and Waco.
Hey,
I did one good round at Waco.
Just to bring this full circle, Evan, it's just, there may be multiple ways to get there, but it's pdga.com/world-rankings.
Awesome. Thank you, Josh, for showing the people where to find it, because that is me. I just fumble over words, guys. I know numbers.
Don't feel bad. We've got a lot going on. But also, to answer the question, Anthony Barella is ranked number 12, right? So
there we go. And to answer the other question, Nick, your best Statmando official rankings was 151 back in the middle to late 2022, which was around Worlds time, a week 34. Kind of always have to go in.
I sucked at Worlds that.
No. Worlds is usually about the end of the season, like the last Disc Golf Pro Tour event of the season's around high 30s. Yeah. So
Yeah, I'm sure there's a bunch of different ways you can look at that number, Nick, but I still think that's pretty impressive. So
Thanks.
I'm going to say it that way.
Yeah.
I can tell my grandkids I was top 160
were-
in the world.
Hey, but like,
You
I
were
know that
top-
sounds funny. I get it. Like, there's a funny
Yeah.
twist in that too, which is like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, I mean, I'm way down the number,
Yeah.
but there's still like, there's tens of thousands of people who would like to be on any world's ranking list who will never even get close.
You know,
Sniff
yeah.
it.
Is that what used to be on PDGA where it would say world rankings next to your name? Is that the same thing?
So there used to be the well, it was so now there's the world ranking, but before that there was the US tour ranking, which was a kind of I don't know if placeholder is the right word, but it was when COVID was happening and the tours were kind of split for a bit. They wanted to split it up into two different rankings, or at least have a US specific one.
Yeah.
But so now we're past that. You know, the tour is integrated. We have elite events over in Europe. We have Europeans coming over to North America. We have people from all over the world, to be clear, coming to North America to play. People are going over to Europe, all that stuff. So the tour is pretty integrated. So now it's back to a world ranking.
Gotcha. Okay. Because I actually do remember there used to be a ranking next to my name, but I think maybe because I was playing some tour events back in 21 and 22.
That might have been
But,
UDisc rankings.
No, it wasn't UDisc because
Okay.
it was on PDGA, but I forget what it was, and I don't think I can look that up anymore. I know I don't make the actual top 100 list, and that's all that matters for
Now
our conversation
you're
right
probably
now.
in the top 10 at least for course manager world rankings for disc golf. So you're doing
I
all
try.
right.
My goal is to be number one eventually.
Yep, doing all right.
You know,
Hey, so we've got several other like sort of topics that we could bring up. Curious, Nick, Evan, Ben, is there anything that suits your interest that we want to talk about with our, live chat? Or if not, we'll jump into any of those other topics. You have anything top of mind? Nick, you haven't
No.
been with us in a while. Any topics burning?
no, bring
All
what
right.
you got.
Yeah,
Sure.
that'd be sick.
Let's do that. Well, one topic that we were talking about earlier, I just wanted to get a little bit more on it, but playing the Olympus course was incredibly fun. I only brought a handful of discs down. And I was actually super worried once I realized that there was a flex start and I was playing a rated round and it was going to show up on my PDGA page and all that I'm like, I didn't bring enough discs for this and had to buy a few. Ended up barely using them and was just sticking with what I brought down and didn't feel like I was missing something in my bag. And I was playing everything for par. Felt like I actually played super well for my game. And it was just a blast to play, kind of like a lot of power shots, but like really controlled, like just throw it straight and then hope it lands and doesn't skip far left or right, depending on the type of throw. So I had a blast playing, and now that course is getting to be ready to be open for the public after this kind of tournament swing, I'm excited for people to play it more. But on to this caller.
Heck yeah.
Can't believe it.
First time caller, long time listener.
Nice.
Kenny.
There's no voice apparently.
People watching can't hear Kenny.
Can't hear Matt. Yeah.
Oh, they couldn't
Is
hear
Matt
me.
muted?
No.
But Kenny, they
Oh.
could hear Kenny, not me. So Kenny said he's got nothing for us. Well, you're just a big fan of the show or what, man?
Yeah.
Awesome.
What's your favorite color?
All right, here we go. We'll go around the horn. We'll do our favorite color
What?
here. My favorite
What
color
a
is
call.
my favorite color is green. Nick, what do you got?
Blue.
Blue, Evan.
I'm green as well.
Green, Josh,
Blue.
and
Variety.
Ben.
So I have a deep answer to this question.
No, my
So when I was a child, it was always red, and I've been conflicted because yellow, as I get older, yellow has been peering into my soul and saying, I'm your favorite color. But then I'm like, I can't do that to red. I literally can't do that to red. It's been my favorite color forever. But then I finally accepted my fate, and now red and yellow are my favorite colors
All
equally.
right, send help. We're sponsored by BetterHelp.com.
That's funny. Not funny that he called, but he just had nothing. So we appreciate the call.
That
I
was
think he was
weird.
eager.
I
It's
don't
very
know why he
possible.
called, but
It's very possible this advertising on screen is like speaking to somebody like, hey, now's the time to win your prize. but we didn't say anything about a prize.
I know, right?
All right, we got someone else calling. Let's take this one. All right, I think my voice can be heard now. If you can hear us on your phone, go ahead and introduce yourself. And what do you got for us tonight? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Do you think Nick should get a Jomies for best course designer of the year?
Ooh,
A
an award.
Yeah.
A Jomies.
Well, so let's be clear. Let's actually talk about it. So best course designer. So who is listed as the course designer for Olympus?
It's got to be Nick, right?
For Olympus, it's not. Yeah, it's not me.
Partially.
Unfortunately, I did not
Who
design.
would you
the
say
course.
like so? But like who? I mean, I don't know if there actually is official.
So-
but like who's the official course designer?
Greg Hosfeld.
Designers.
I'm pretty sure is the official course designer of like the OG course designer. I think it's Greg Hos. I'm still kind of learning the history of the canyon itself. Greg Hosfeld's Ken Climo had a lot to do with a lot of things. Mike Barnett has done a lot there. And then for the Olympus changes that we made this year, it was all Paul Macbeth.
Wow, okay. Well, I think we need our caller to hopefully turn down the audio for what he's listening to. But if he can hear us and you called in, which you did, go ahead.
Nick's course manager of the year. We'll give him that.
Give us what you got,
Thank you.
man. Caller.
Appreciate it.
Yo, what's going on?
Hey, what's your name, dude?
What's that?
My name is Tristan the Fox Lee from Western New York.
Okay, awesome.
Fox, let's go. I love it.
Have we ever run into
Yeah.
each other before? Or introduced
No,
each
never
other?
at all.
Okay, awesome. Well, I
No,
look
I have
forward
no
to
idea who you guys are. What's your
Come
name?
on.
Nice. Yeah.
Just some
You
guys.
just
All right,
randomly,
no, I'm
you
sorry,
just
I'm
randomly
saying.
came across our YouTube feed, huh? You like disc golf?
No,
at all?
you guys. Yes, of course. No, you guys are great. Subscribed,
you.
obviously. I'm not really on
Thank
live usually, so it's cool to catch you guys live. Super
Wow,
sick.
awesome. Do you have anything for us, or
I
you
am-
just wanted to say hi?
I didn't really think I'd get through. I'm just calling, but like honestly, how has the off season been for you guys, and how much are you looking forward to having the actual season start to have real topics to talk about, have a good conversations on the Staggered stance every week?
All right, cool. Thanks, man. We appreciate it. We're gonna let you go, and we'll answer that.
Staggy
So
The
Nation.
Fox.
I will say we celebrated last
Fox.
week. We said we've made it, and we are excited to talk about storylines relating around events. Of course, there will still be some sorts of drama that come up. In fact, I don't think you guys talked about it. Maybe you did, and I missed it. I apologize. The 30-second clock, this Memorial Championship, has gotten some talk around it, and things like that are going to come up. Where like Jacob Curtis is being called out for taking too long, right, on putting, but not by somebody on the course. So like, I guess my point is I'm excited. There will still be some of that like sideline talk like about that, but I'm excited, and I think the rest of us are as well. I shut down the phone call.
I like.
Go ahead.
I'll say yes, of course. From a news cycle standpoint, the season getting going is like the thing. That's why our show exists. Personally, I enjoy a lot of the kind of nuanced business negotiation conversations, what's happening with the sport, how it's evolving. And a lot of that does happen in the off season, quite frankly. A lot of the discussions happen year round, right? But a lot of the stuff starts to happen. Like we've seen changes with what the network's doing, new plans rolled out, UDisc, Statmando being acquired by PDGA and whatever, right? The list goes on. So I enjoy the off season in a different bent, but the only reason the off season is intriguing because of what happens during the season. So that is our bread and butter. So like, yeah, like at this point, we're going to hit a stretch here for a while where it's just event after event after event. So that's definitely like, yeah, let's go.
What's the big storyline coming out of Waco? Can we predict that? Anybody is strong enough to do that? Like so-and-so wins by flubbed putt on hole 18, or is it like, now if it happens, I just said it, but like, is there going to be a storyline that comes out like Kristin's back, AB goes back to back? Like, what is it going to be?
Well, I already gave you my, pop drop lock. So
yeah,
that's
but
what
what's
I
the
think's gonna happen.
storyline? It's not COVID shut it down a few years ago. Wind can play a
wild.
factor there. Waco's it's good, and we are playing multiple courses now.
Well, I was gonna say that's really interesting.
So
right?
what's
That's
the
a-
response
that's a-
going to be to that? Like, are people going to love
That's
it
a
or
big
hate
difference, right? Because like Waco is always considered right the beast. You go in the woods and then you come back out of the woods. It was a short course. People always talk about you see so much anything can happen, right? We see all different players bouncing all over the leaderboard, people who don't perform well on most courses possibly perform well here. They may, so this is something to watch for, it's not a prediction. They may have just eroded that storyline. And maybe that's a good thing for the event, right? But a 4-round event and pulling in a 10,400 foot MPO, right, length course is certainly going to change the narrative, which is, I think, by design, right? I think that's what they're going for, but it'll be,
yeah.
I don't know what that'll do.
I think one of the things with Waco is we're not going to see the finishing kind of 17 and 18 that we've seen in years past, because they're going to end at Lake Waco, the golf course. So we don't really know what the finishing holes are going to look like until we watch the first round. And then hopefully it plays out to where, 17 and 18 bring down a battle. But we've seen in years past that, Valerie Mandujano made an incredible shot in hole 17 a few years ago to pretty much clutch and win the tournament. Hole 18, Ella Hansen last year throws it OB. Kristin Tatar makes a big putt to take the win. And so we were able to see these kind of incredible shots, which I think 17 and 18 at Waco are sick. So I'm curious to see what the storyline will be from Lake Waco with them ending there on Sunday. And then also it's an Elite Plus event now. 4 rounds. This is the first 4-round tournament of the year for a lot of players. It's the first 4-round big tournament of the year that we have. And so it's pretty much, who's going to rise to the top, who's not going to get fatigued, who really put in the work during the off season so that they can come out to these events strong.
And another thing, like chess.com was one event. Like we have lots of, how is this season going to look? Is Anthony Barella going to be a top 3 player all season? Is Eveliina Salonen also is she back? Is she going to win multiple events? One event doesn't really tell us much. It's exciting, but once you get 2 events, if Anthony Barella goes back to back, or Eveliina Salonen does, or has good finishes, if Ricky Wysocki finishes, second in both events, is he back? Like there's so many of these things that just like will tell the season a lot more once you have a second point and you can kind of start making that line for the season and see how it looks. So it's less to me what happens at Waco specifically, but how does the season look overall? And we'll start to put together those points of, Paul McVeigh finishes outside the top 50 2 times in a row. What does that mean? If he or Calvin Heimberg bounce right back, then it's, that was nothing. It was a one event weirdness. So lots of things will come out with this. But one thing I'll be curious about too is we have a lot of events in Texas. So we had the week off after chess.com, but then we have boom. For FPO, they have no weeks off, 4 events in Texas. I think we're going to be real, like this isn't a Waco specific, but I think just real quick, we're going to blink and then all of a sudden we're going to be like 4 or 5 events in, and we're really going to see how the season is shaping out.
Yeah, absolutely. So, getting off of that a little bit, which this is good talk. And by the way, this is awesome. I asked for steroids this time, personal note, for my prep. And I think I'm like 8 hours in and it's like doing something. That's a miracle. Thank you. I'm so like, wow, I can talk. That was a side note, free tidbit there. But people are asking still about Pop Drop Lock. A lot of people are excited. They're still signing up even now live, asking things like, and I just get feedback here, Eagle McMahon will not be available to pick because he's not playing Waco until he plays 3 events this year. Would that sound right, Evan? Like per this game, I know it's not your decision, but like we would have 2023. We could either make a criteria like an exception for him and says he plays off of 2023 for his first 3 events, or we just say you can't pick him until he's played 3 this. Because come the Open at Austin, we're resetting all the averages to this year is the point, and he won't have played yet.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting question. I think there's multiple ways of doing it. I don't know which way I would do personally. I'd have to think about it, but
just don't let him be picked. Maybe
you could also just for Pop Drop Lop, you could just have it be last season plus whatever. You could have it be the last 10 events, whether they play or overall. There's lots of different ways you could cut it.
The only reason I don't want to do that and include all, and give us feedback, everybody. This is a conversation, but including all the events plus this one, or even 10 and plus, is I feel like it makes the game a little bit more exciting to play, basing it off of less events, for instance. So like, because the more, the more data you have, is the word extrapolated? The fact that like, if you had 20 events your average is going to start dialing in real tight, which can sound fun. You'd be like, hey, we know that's what they usually play. You're getting less points would be my guess. You'd be like, I'm going to pick them over under kind of thing. They might get 1 or 2 because their average is locked in. If we restart the year, there's much more potential for at the beginning portion here to really have to make some educated picks on getting bigger point swings, if you know what I mean. So I don't know. I told him to sit tight, and to Shrek, if you're listening in, my guess is that if they don't have 3 events this year, this is how I talk to them. I could text them too. We'll just leave their name off the list so they can't be picked. So I'll just put it out there for everybody. If you're making
another
a pick,
option that comes,
their name's on the list, you can pick them. Otherwise, don't worry about it.
Yeah, another option that comes through the comments that I kind of like is you consider last year until that player has played 3 events this year. So Eagle McMahon, if he jumps back at Jonesboro, I don't know when he's exactly coming back, but let's say it's Jonesboro, he won't have 3 events because that'll be his first one in 2024. So you would use his 2023 average, and then you would do that for the next event and the next event until his 4th event of the year, even though it might be the 10th, event of the Disc Golf Pro Tour season. You would use his last year until he hits that 4th mark, and then you would use his 2024 average. So it would be player dependent, which could be more work, but I don't know, maybe that makes more sense.
I will just say this again. Just if the player's in the list, you can pick them, is how I think we'll put it for now. That being said, also the rules, because I'm sitting here behind the camera, not showing up on screen, I was able to do some work. The rules right now are in a a Google Doc file in our video description, and it should be in our audio for our podcast post listeners as well. That way, if it doesn't get up onto popdroplock.com, you can still access them, because a lot of people are going to try to make their picks prior to the event. This will help you out. It does answer a lot of those. It didn't, for instance, like Eagle. It said they need to have 3. So that was a little unique. If he had played one of these events, we'd have an average for last year. If he's not playing the first 3, I think we roll it off. But if the pick's there, you can pick them. Thanks for playing along, everybody. I'm not laughing at somebody in our chat, but they're like, hey, it's impossible to find your game. That's because it's brand new. There's probably no SEO on it. But hopefully popdroplock.com works for everybody, and that is listed as well in our description. So if you're forgetting popdroplock.com, just click that in there. A lot of people are excited about this game, and rightfully so. Our whole show is not going to be about this game. It's getting the season set up, and that's going to take a little bit on the front end. Let me ask this question. You brought it up to Eveliina. The European Open is going to include both of those courses now that we'll see at Worlds. That's cool. And then people are asking for follow-up on this, because I mentioned it. Just your opinion. This doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out debate because we're at the last minute of the show here. But just a reaction to the videos that are swirling around right now about Jacob Cordes taking X amount of time, whether it's 50 seconds average on his putts. Does that bother you? Do you think that people should call him on it? Do you have any feelings on it? Not do you like the rule or not necessarily. Like, how do you just feel when you see that video? Like, move along, or are you like worked up?
I can
What
go
do you
on
think,
this
Ben?
one. Yeah, it's a tough situation. I don't know why he even takes that long in the first place. I know I was watching the coverage from the Disc Golf Guy, and Aaron Gossage was on commentary, and then he was saying that even after when he eventually putts, he does make the putts. So I don't know why he's taking that long. It seems like you only take that long if you have the yips or a bad putter, and you're like, I have to make this. Oh my goodness! But he's making them. As for calling it and being upset, I think it's a tough situation, because I think at the end of the day, the players have to call it, because that's when it's really going to change. Like, if they're not calling it, it doesn't matter. If they're not enforcing the rules, it does not matter, even though for the viewing experience, it's not fun. The live viewing experience, I know Terry probably keeps his long putting routine in on purpose, because Terry's been very vocal about that, so he definitely does that on purpose. But I think at the end of the day, the players need to call it. I know it's going to be awkward and stuff, but until this golf gets big enough where like lead card, chase card, or whatever can have actual officials consistently, like always, that are able to call, I think that at the end of the day, it just needs to be called. And if it's not getting called, I don't think there's nothing you can really do. But I think regardless, he needs to just speed it up. Regardless, I think I think that's the main solution here.
I think it's annoying to watch somebody
annoying,
take so
yeah.
long, but I'm also of the mindset, move along. I as in not him. I just mean like for me, I'm like whatever. Like if it's slowing down the pace of a group before or after, then I would have issue with it. If it's not, and I don't know the scenario here, I think Aaron mentioned it, I'm kind of like, it's annoying. But I don't know whether the sport's going to change or not. Nick, you have closing thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, like, look, it's a very large A tier. There's never going to be marshals on the cards. So it's all up to the players to actually call the player on if they're taking too long. If any player that's on his card, and, you know, like I'll see tweets go around and stuff like that. If you're a player that's on his card and he's taking too long, but then you're talking about it afterwards, you didn't do your job as another player and call him on it. So I don't feel bad for the other players unless they called him on it. And like, if I was playing in a group with them, look, every so often, I'm not jumping out there every single time a guy lines up to putt. I'm not taking out my stopwatch, but after 3 or 4 times, if I feel like it's taking forever and ever, and look, like we just ran an Elite Series event here to where people ask me, hey, can you go like see what's going on in this area? And I'm not a marshal, so I technically can't call anything. But at the same time, you can sit there and kind of time it and make sure like, oh yeah, hey, this group actually, they're all taking 25 seconds apiece. Like they're good. Don't worry about it. With Cupcake, I mean, this has been a known Jacob Curtis, we call him Cupcake. It's been a known thing for him that he does take a while, and until players actually start calling him on it, he's just going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over. So
Correct.
yeah,
Yes.
Like that's the biggest thing is like you can't complain about it unless you call him on it, and you can't feel bad about calling him on it because we're all with the same set of rules. We're all playing a tournament. We all have the same exact set of rules. Call him on it, and maybe after 2 times of calling him on it, he'll pick up the pace. And I'm one of those people that's funny because I played with Luke Sampson years and years ago, and I made a joke with him when he was here at the Chess.com Invitational that like, oh yeah, we played together back at Greater Hartford, and I remember you took forever. He's like, yeah, back in the day, he's like, I used to take a minute sometimes on my shots, and I was like, yeah, and that's why I called you on it back then.
Just call it. Just call it. Please.
Anyways,
Just call it.
Just call it.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Just call it. No one's gonna get into a fist fight after you call them on a fist.
Do it the first time and legitimately say
second.
like,
Yeah.
hey, I don't like actually want to. This is just part of the rules, and like keep up the good
It's a
work.
play. Keep it up. Anyways,
It's gonna keep happening. It's just how the sport's set up. One day it will change. Any closing thoughts, Nick? Anybody else? We got to close out.
Just if you are a slow putter, just make sure if Terry Miller's doing coverage on you, just make sure you speed it up because
Ben,
he will include it.
You're a slow putter. That's literally you. I hope Terry films you around.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
That's all right.
And that's a lie. And that's
This
a
is
lie.
fun.
And that's a lie.
I'll just all right. We will.
everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to this wonderful Monday night of Staggered Stance. Want to thank you all just enjoying it. Check out Pop Drop Lock. Check out Hooligan Discs. Use code Ben10 or Stance10. Check out Disc Golf 978. We absolutely love them. They're incredible to us, and we want you guys to show your support towards them. So once again, shout out to Disc Golf 978. Moving over to Meadowbrook Orchards. About to have a kick-ass season, guys. 2024 is finally upon us. Let's have some fun with it. Tell someone you love them this week. We'll catch you in the next one.
It seems like you're probably excited because you get to enjoy an event from remote now, like watching.
Yeah.
So, very cool.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Yep.
We made it through this episode. I'm so grateful for each of you being able to step up per normal, but allowing me to sit back. I will hopefully be full health next week. We'll kill it. Thank you, guys. Nick, you're awesome. Evan, you're awesome. Josh, you're awesome. Ben, you're awesome. Peace out, everybody. Until next time, we'll see you.
I'm not a slow putter.
Yeah, we'll see you.
Yeah.
Peace
Just
out,
call it.
everybody.